Hi everyone, I'm Nicola from LME Designs, and today I'm going to be showing you how to change colours when you are working the C2C or corner to corner stitch. Now, in front of you, you can see all of the equipment that you might need. So you've got your current crochet project, an appropriate sized crochet hook, your scissors for cutting your yarn, your tapestry needle for weaving in the ends when you're finished, and some bobbins with some different coloured yarn on. Now, as you can see, your yarn bobbins can be pretty much anything you want them to be. You could just use little balls of yarn that you've wound off of the larger ball. However, you might find that these roll around quite a bit. You can find plastic, pre-cut yarn bobbins in most places, Amazon, local crafts shops. Some people like to use the gigantic pegs to wrap their yarn around because they can then attach it to their work. I tend to go for the easy, cheap and replaceable option, I suppose, of cut out cereal boxes. So the way that I do it is I just have the general shape so that I can wrap my yarn around the middle. And then I have a little slit at one end just to secure my end, particularly when I am putting my work down so that I can come back to it later, so that when I move my project around, the yarn's not going to unwind from the bobbin and get all tangled and cause me problems when I try to get it back out again. So if I pop these to the side to start with. So first I'm going to show you how to change colours at the start or end of your row. So as you can see, I'm doing an alternating pattern of the blue and pink at the moment. I am changing colour every 2 rows, and I've just got a couple of squares left to finish of this second row of blue before I will be changing to the pink. So if I just work these last couple of squares. By the way, if you don't know how to do corner to corner stitch, I do have a separate tutorial for that, and I will link the video below. Okay, so there you've got your last square done. Now, depending on your personal preference, you have a few options at this point. You could do a chain 1, snip your yarn, pull your hook out, and then get your new colour, make a slip knot, attach the yarn in this corner, and then carry on. However, I find that that's just a little bit, I don't know, I just don't quite like the way it looks. So what I prefer to do, if I just unravel this slightly, is at the end of my last square, when I've still got 2 loops on my hook. So yarning over and pulling through now would finish that last double crochet. This is when I like to switch colours. Now the pink is next. So all I need to do is just unwind a bit from my ball, make a loop and pop it onto my hook and pull it through those 2 loops that are on my hook. Now, don't worry about the fact that you've now stretched out the blue a bit. You can come back and tighten this all up afterwards. You're going to drop your blue yarn, pick up your pink, and then do your usual chain 6 to start the next row. Let me just grab a bit more yarn. So I'm going to continue as if I'm doing a normal row of corner to corner. So finishing up this initial square, turn, slip stitch into the next one, chain 3, and then place my 3 double crochets. Whoops, just slipped off my hook there. Okay, and now that I'm a little way into the row, so I'm not worried about it all accidentally unraveling, this is when I pop my work down, grab that colour that I have stopped working with and leave a reasonable tail before I chop it off. Now you can fiddle with these ends, tighten them up a bit, just so that they sit nicely. But when you go to weave in your ends, you can fiddle about with them as much as you want to make sure that they're sitting nice and flush. So you then just continue your corner to corner, in my case stripes, as you normally would. And you use the exact same process when you go to change colours again. The only extra bit that some people like to do is some people, where you've got your sort of two ends here, like to knot them so that they're not going to become unravelled. Equally, in order to reduce the number of ends that you have to weave in, some people would work over their ends as they go. I tend to find that if I do this, my tension goes a bit funny and my square doesn't stay very square, so I prefer to weave them all in at the end, but it's entirely personal preference. I know some people really hate weaving in those ends and so would like to have as few as possible. If I was continuing to do stripes, I would keep going all the way to the top, then work my way back down. But now imagine that you want to change colour in the middle of a row. Okay, so again, there are various methods that you can use depending on your personal preference. Now I'm going to add in some white. Let's just unravel a little bit before we start. There we go. Now, as you can see, I have completely finished this corner to corner square, so I've completed that last double crochet. I'm going to pop my hook through that next chain 3 space as if I'm going to carry on. Pop the loop of my new colour onto my hook, pull it through for that slip stitch, and then I'm going to chain 3 to start that square. Now, in order to secure my end, as you can see, it's just here. I am going to work over that end when I do my 3 double crochets. And you can tighten up that pink end just to make things a little bit neater. You can leave that until you do your weaving in at the end, or you can do it as you go along. It's entirely up to you. So if I want to carry this up to my next square in order to secure my end without having to do lots of knots, and it's one less end to weave in later, put my hook into the next chain 3 space as if I'm going to do the next square, wrap that loose tail over, slip stitch to secure it, and then keep going. Oh, I managed to catch my pink on my hook. Okay, and there you go. I usually find if I carry my tail through 3 or maybe 4 squares, I can then cut it without any concerns of it unraveling. Where you do those corner slip stitches, it does catch it nice and tight, and I've not had any issues with unraveling when I'm washing my work so far. Now, the next thing you have to worry about when you're changing colour all of the time is which side to leave your tails. Now, this white tail is going to get cut off because I'm going to secure it through enough squares. This pink I've left attached because I plan to use it again when I come back down this way. Now, you can use anything you like in order to indicate the front and the back. I tend to go with a contrasting stitch marker like this. So at the moment, I'm using this to indicate the back of my work. You can put it on the front of your work, whatever is easier for you to remember. And I've left that pink tail on that side so that hopefully by seeing this, I'll leave all of my tails on the same side of my work, which when you finish and you've woven in all your ends, you'll see just helps to make things a little bit tidier. So let's continue working with the white. If I just get a bit more, catch a bit more yarn. Now I'm going to pretend that my row is now going to be decreasing, so I'm going to flip it over and do my 3 slip stitches. And then chain 3, and then start the white squares for my next row. Now, a few things to bear in mind depending on the exact pattern that you are following. So imagine that I want my next square to be pink. So obviously I can drop the white to the front, given that I've got my marker which says this is the back, leave all your tail ends this side. And I can grab my pink yarn again, put my hook through as if I'm going to do a slip stitch, and this time slip stitch using the pink, and then continue over that part that I've stretched across, doing my regular old corner to corner, moving up to the next square as normal. And as you will see a bit better once all of your ends are tightened and woven in, it's not too obvious that obviously you've gone over that white chain 3 just there. Now, alternatively is what if you wanted your white to continue over the pink before switching. So if I go back to my white and go, you know what, I need 2 more squares of white. I have misread my pattern and it was supposed to be 4 white squares, not 2 white squares, before I switch back to the pink. So I'm going to finish the 3rd square. And then because I'm only going to be going a further 1 square before I switch back to the pink, I'm actually going to carry the yarn, excuse me while I unwind some more white, rather than chopping it and reattaching it just 1 square later. So in order to do that, I'm going to get my pink end, move it up to the top so that I can catch it when I do my slip stitch. And then as you can see, it's a little bit flappy, so I'm just going to pull it a little bit tighter to improve the tension. Do my chain 3 to start my white square, and then crochet over that pink tail. Remember, when you get to the end, just to make sure that you're happy with your tension, give it another bit of a gentle pull. Now, this is the point where I'm actually supposed to switch to pink. Oops, I made a mistake in trying to change earlier. Now again, personal preference as to how you proceed. You can just pick up your pink and carry on with it. So slip stitch, chain 3, 3 double crochet. And you will find that when you have carried it, if you pull your stitches apart slightly, you can see where that pink has gone up. Now, for some people, they'd find that really bothersome. It's a little bit more prominent on the other side. So the other thing that you can do, if I just unravel that pink square so that we're back to our white square before the pink starts, is you could decide to pick up that pink on its own and insert your hook and do just some slip stitching to get it up to that normal chain 3 space that you would go through before you carry on with your work. Now, yes, that does get rid of that really obvious kind of little bit here, but I don't think many people are going to be going around stretching their work out a lot in order to see it. So personally, I go for the first method I showed you, just because it's a little bit more straightforward and it's a bit quicker, which when you're crocheting a big blanket is an important factor to consider. Speed is definitely something that we need to bear in mind. So hopefully this has given you a nice explanation of how to change colour when you're doing corner to corner. If there's anything that you think needs to be explained a little bit better, you have any questions, just comment below. Equally, if there are any other crochet stitches or skills that you would like me to demonstrate, just comment below and I'll see if I've got time to do a video. Otherwise, hopefully you'll enjoy using this new skill that you've acquired. So for example, our new pattern, the Festive Hygge Blanket, uses colour changes during corner to corner crochet. And as you can see, you can use it to make all sorts of patterns. Hopefully, as I said, you find this useful. If not, let me know. But otherwise, until we meet again, happy crocheting.